Hi guys and girls, welcome back to my channel. I do hope you're doing well. Oh my lovelies, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but right now we are in hot weather. Hot weather indeed. So I do apologise that you have not had a Shannon with any slap on for quite a few videos now, but I can't fathom it. And you're probably thinking, Shannon Lee, you look worse today than you did in the last ones because I ain't even got lashes on. Look at that. But it is a sit down with Shan. We're normally hair up, no makeup, in pyjamas. I'm not quite in pyjamas today. I'm in my little flowery, oh, just kicked you there. That's absolutely great start, isn't it? I'm in my flowery kimono. I do have a top on underneath, so we're not going to have any expose in if it does fly apart, unfortunately. Well, not unfortunately, because no one needs to see that on the internet, Shan. And I've also got my new glass mug. If you haven't seen the new look haul, good vibes only. I've got an iced vanilla macchiato with my extremely large ice cubes in there that I picked up from Home Bargains, the ice cube tray. Oh, so milky, so creamy. Probably shouldn't really be having caffeine because I've been for my morning swim. I went for aqua aerobics this morning. Haven't had anything to eat. And the time now is 1:15 on a Sunday afternoon. I've not had anything to eat, but I'm having an iced coffee. So I'm probably going to be bouncing off of the room in a moment. It's going to be a great video, ain't it? Anyway, I'm rabbiting as always, my lovelies. Today's topic, it is a sit down with Shan. And as you know, there is no topic off limits, anything like that. We talk about everything and anything on this channel. And I thought, what could we have for this month? I was partly considering doing like how to survive the heat. Like a 101 guide on how do we survive weather that is hotter than Dubai. It's almost 40 degrees in England, okay? And then I thought, no, can't do that. Maybe we'll do that like in the summer. Well, it is summer, maybe next month if it's still really hot. And then I was thinking like with the cost of living, but I think I've done a similar one to that a few months back. So that is in the pipeline for another month. And I thought, what is in the month of July? And the month of July is Mama G's birthday, and it is also Nana G's birthday and Nana G's anniversary. If you haven't seen the vlog from last week, happy heavenly birthday Nan, me, Mama G and Dada, you see a glimpse of him. We went to the grave and just celebrated Nan and Grandad for how they would have liked to have been remembered on her birthday. And resonating with Nan is cancer. So I thought, I don't quite know how I'm going to word this because I kind of want to do like an FU cancer, but I might do it as like a stand up to cancer because that might be a bit more appropriate for a title, and I'll probably end up getting demonetized and shut down if I put FU cancer. So I thought, you know what, let's talk about, instead of the big C that we have been speaking about in the pandemic, actually like the main big C, cancer. So I put over on my lifestyle and food Instagram. They're always down in the descriptions box below, my lovelies. If you want to get involved in any of the monthly sit down with Shans, that is where I will pop up maybe the day or so before I'm going to be filming. And I'll be like, you know what? This is this month's topic, fire away. And I said that this month is all about cancer. And I said to know whether you'd experienced it yourself, any family members. And also, a very interesting one, people's thoughts and theories on a cure. And I've had some really interesting responses, to be honest. So, iPad is to hand, iced coffee is there, and you know what, my lovelies? We're just going to get into it. Almost dropped it there on me coffee. This is what I mean, I should not be having caffeine, eh? If you're not aware with these videos, my lovelies, we do change positions a lot. I'm probably going to start it off here, and then I might be lying down on the bed. It's just literally a big sit down, chit chat, like I'm talking to all my friends, which I am through you. I can't see you or speak to you as I am in the presence, but I reply back to all your comments and your DMs, everything like that. So, as I say, you have sent through some very good ones. And I had a lot of you actually on the little question box say, I'll DM you because it's too long. Because them question boxes, they don't let you do half the amount of words. I mean, who is only going to have a thing that's like 20 characters? So the majority I did have saying like, I'll send you a DM. And I'm like, that's absolutely fine. That is absolutely delicious. I ain't had a nice coffee for ages. I think it's probably just because the new mug's like just filling my life a little bit more, you know. Right, let's start with this one. So everything is always anonymous. And as I say, thank you so much to the people who did send bits in, because otherwise it'd just be me sitting here waffling absolute pure nonsense, which is probably what I do in most videos, ain't it? But anyway, so my first lovely says, I've lost my gran and granddad to cancer. Sorry to hear that, my lovely. Granddad in 2000 with throat cancer, and my gran recently in 2018 with bowel cancer. It was terrible with her as we had no idea until it was too late. This is something that really resonates with me, like when you find out and it is too late, like there's no way that it can be reversed. And I think when you are told and it's past the point of no return, in essence, it is horrible. It's absolutely heartbreaking. And I think I've heard of throat cancer. Bowel cancer is becoming a lot more prominent, because I think that is what Dame Deborah Jane, the lady who done all of the fundraising who recently passed, I think that was hers, because I remember she said something like check your poo-poo. It seems to be becoming a lot more popular, bowel cancer. Not popular, you know what I mean, my lovelies, but a lot more common bowel cancer. And to be honest, I always thought bowel cancer was more like for men. I didn't realise that women could get it as well. That's probably so uneducated of myself. But yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, my lovelies. She says, I also have had some experiences. Last year, I had my usual smear checkup. I've only had one, and it's not one of my greatest experiences, to say the least. And they found some abnormal cells. I went to hospital and they did another test, which they found out the cells were precancerous and they can be removed. Thank goodness. So the next month I got them removed and had another smear 3 months later to check everything was gone. Thankfully nothing is there anymore. Oh, touch wood. I am so happy for you, my lovelies, because I speak to this regular quite a lot. We're always talking on TikTok, Instagram. We're just loving life with each other. Thankfully nothing is there anymore. It makes me emotional to think I'm 30 and that was happening in my body, and I wouldn't have known if I hadn't have had my smear done. It still gives me anxiety now, even though everything is okay. Right. I have a love-hate with a smear. I've only had one, as I say, and it wasn't really the most pleasant experience, to be honest. Maybe because it was my first one, I just felt... You just feel a bit uncomfortable, and the nurse who done it weren't really nice, to be honest. It weren't like, oh, is this your first time? Okay, here. It was basically like, lay down and open your legs, and quite sore, to be honest. I actually bled for 2 days after my first smear. Probably TMI, but we're all friends here. I personally think, however, because when I had mine, they asked like your age and that, and I think I was 25. I think that's the legal age for you to have your first one in the UK. But I've been reading up on the pill lately because I'm very half and half. That could be a good sit down with Shan next month, maybe talking about contraception. Brainwave, right, my lovelies, next month is talking about contraception. Anything you want to know, tips, tricks, anything like that, leave it down below, send me a DM. I will put it out on the Instagram stories, but contraception is next month. Because I've been reading up, because I've been on my pill 12 years. Very long time. I went on it for excruciating period pains. I was so irregular. I was spotting all the time, and it was just horrible. So I went on the pill, and my first pill was called Microgynon, and then now I'm on Levest, which I think is a combined pill. Now, I'm at the age, 27, where I can't see kids really, or I'm not maternal yet. But mum always says to me, you never know. And mum was on the pill, I think, for about 10 or 12 years also. And she had a really hard time conceiving. It took her 16 or 18 years to conceive me. She was actually in the process of having IVF before she fell naturally with me. And she had me at 34. So she said, I don't want you, if you was going to have a child, like, don't have it late 30s because you're going to be old. And I'm like, Mum, there are women in their 40s having babies nowadays. And she knows my feelings on it. I am quite open to say I'm selfish at the moment. I want to go and do my travelling. If I want to buy myself something, I want to buy myself something. If I've got a free day, I want to go to the gym. I want to go in the car somewhere and just go. That's me at the moment. But she said just kind of think long term in case, because I think the average time frame is like 3 to 4 months for every year you've been on the pill. And yeah, I don't quite know. I'm a bit half-hearted. So we'll talk all about that next month in Contraception, my lovelies. But I have been reading that before you go on the pill, you should do a smear. Because I don't know how true it is, but there's something with the pill and like cancerous cells that is related. And sometimes the pill can trigger it. And I don't know how it works in other countries. I think I've read somewhere that some countries allow you to have a smear from as young as 15. Or from when you start having your periods. So I think personally, if that is, say you need a smear before you go on the pill or when you start your periods, because obviously you're in your ovulation and everything like that, smears need to be offered a lot younger, because all I read through the C pandemic was young girls like in their 20s that unfortunately it was too late to catch, and it was because they weren't being given a smear. The doctors didn't want to know and kept just saying it was like headaches or something ridiculous and didn't want to see them face to face. And unfortunately, a lot of young ladies lost their lives through the pandemic. And I do feel there needs to be a lot more. I mean, the one that always resonates to me is Jade Goody. That is like what I imagine. So when I had my letter for the smear, Mama G is a bit thingy. Mama G doesn't like smears at all, and I always say to her, like, practice what you preach. But she says, oh, kind of like a bit too old for that. But I think she's gonna have one this year. I've been like on her, like, come on, if I've had to go and do it, you've got to do it. But anyway, I totally digressed from that. I do apologise. I am so thankful that, not that it come up abnormal, but that it got checked. So I know it is such an uncomfortable and sometimes traumatic experience, a smear, let's be perfectly honest. But you had it. It come back, something was maybe not quite right. You've gone, they've been removed, absolutely great. And then you said you've had another smear 3 months later. So that's good that there's like a follow on. That it's not kind of like, well, we've removed them and we'll see you in, I don't know what a smear is, 3 to 5 years? I think, I'm not entirely sure. They have done it. And as I say, very good that there was nothing there. It is scary, ain't it though? Our bodies, the only things we really know with our bodies, right, when something goes wrong, like if we cut ourselves, we know if we cut ourselves, don't we? We know if we bruise ourselves, if we hit ourselves. We may know something is internally wrong with maybe like a lump or swelling. But things like that, we have no idea in our womanly parts what it is doing or what it is like conjuring up. And I do think in this day and age of modern technology, there needs to be a lot more things, I think, that are maybe not so invasive for women, but can like pick up the signs and symptoms, or like, because I don't think with that Dame Deborah Jane, there's not a lot about bad cancer. And I think I read that now some toilet paper companies are going to start putting things on like for what to check in your poo basically, which people might think ill, but then look at fag packets. You have the photo of the throat, that's what I always remember, the throat with all the fat in that. People still go and pack up their fags and off they go. I mean, look at Dada. He smokes like a chimney now. He looks at them pictures and he just turns the box around. If people choose to do that, they're going to do that. Unfortunately, going to the toilet is a natural thing for men and women. So I think definitely having some form of it on the packaging is going to be very good, because I wouldn't know what the signs are. And as I say, I think she had a 5 or 6 year battle with it, bless her. And she didn't know what the signs are at first. But yeah, when with your nan you say it was called too late and there was nothing you can do, I completely resonate with that. And that does anger me a lot, because I do feel in some cases like you could tell people what's wrong and they would just pass it off as something else. And then when they actually do take the time to look into it, it's too late and you can't reverse time on that. So I am so sorry that you lost your nan and granddad, and touch wood, you are all good, because we are having a lot of fun on TikTok. You're going to drain my bank balance with all the videos you're sending us. And as I say, we always like exchange book tips and everything like that. So you're a very lovely lady. Thank you for sending it in, my darling. Right, another one. Let's have a bit of a drink. I'm parched. I hope you've got a cold drink, my lovelies. Whatever you're drinking of your choice, leave it down in the comments below. Let us know what you're loving through these hot weathers, eh? Oh, yes. Again, another one of my lovelies, she sent me a DM. She was like, it's way too long to put in the box. So, As she starts, so the big C. Firstly, I just want to send love and hugs to everyone who is or may be going through, supporting or acknowledging this awful disease. Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. This is, I think, it's still the #1 killer in the world, I think. And it's been going however many years. So she says, I don't understand how in this day and age it is still such an enigma without a cure. See, this is like theories, conspiracies. We're going to get into this. My uncle died of leukemia. I was only young, but I remember him always being quite the loud and bubbly uncle, always had a tan, a proper East End boy. Then the last I saw him as a young kid, he seemed to have shrunk and was so thin and was quiet. That's leukemia is to do with your blood, I think. Is it a type of blood cancer? And it makes you like very pale and withdrawn. Leukemia, I resonate more with children's type of cancers. Obviously, older people get it, but I think that's what I see a lot of, like little ones, which breaks my heart. As I say, I'm not maternal, but I do have a heart. And this is where I get into a big thing about good and bad in the world and God and devil and everything like that, because I think, why would you put children through that pain of giving them that illness? That's going to be a whole nother topic. Oh my God, can you imagine if we did a religious one? Oh Lord, I think that would ruffle a few feathers, don't you? But anyway, back to the story. Shannon, you're very digressing. It's the coffee. I'm getting hyper. My dad's other sister died of pancreatic cancer. I've heard of that, I think, pancreatic. I don't know if that's a common one. I have heard of it though. And I know her passing has ripped the family apart, and her GP kept telling her she had a viral infection. It's an awful, awful thing to have to face or support someone else to face it. One day we can only hope the destruction of lives are not just the victim of cancer, but their loved ones too ends, and we all have the chance of a full life with no limits. Stay strong all, heart, kiss, kiss, kiss. This gripes me. Her GP kept telling her she had a viral infection. I don't know the backstory to this, but I'm guessing the GP probably didn't have the time or didn't want to have the time to fully investigate it. And I find a lot of the time you will give symptoms and they will just find something that can be dealt with tablets, and yep, away you go, we'll give you a prescription and that be done with it. And sometimes that's not the case, and it is a lot more severe. I always remember reading one, I think it was last year, a lad kept having really bad headaches, and it was in the Daily Mail, I think. It was in England somewhere, up north I believe. He kept having headaches, going to his GP, going to the doctors, going to A&E. They was just like, it's severe headaches, keep giving him a thing. His parents, I think, took him then to a private hospital because they was like, this is not right. Like, the headaches he's having, I think he was passing out from them, potentially seizures. And it ended up that he had, I think it was like a brain tumour. And by the time they'd got to it, it was inoperable. And I think that the GP should be held accountable for that. If someone just came to you, right, and said, oh, I'm getting really bad headaches once, okay, you might think severe headaches, give them some really strong painkillers. But I think that this lad was going to them for like almost half a year, and it was not letting up, it was persisting, and no one wanted to do anything. And it was only for the fact his parents took him privately, and he had to pay for the care that you should be able to get on the NHS regardless, and it was too late for him. So I do feel sometimes, and I'm probably going to get backlash from this, unpopular opinion, basing from my GP, for example, my GP couldn't give two hoots. They will do anything just to write you a prescription and send you on your way. My GP, even to this day, do not still do face-to-face appointments. An average time for my GP, 3 weeks for a telephone consultation. After that, if they deem that they need to see you, it's 2 weeks for a Skype call. And then if after that you get referred to the local A&E where you can wait up to 6 months. At no point does my GP see anyone. And you know who they say that my GP is now? The building. The surgery name is my GP. I don't even have a doctor now. So that is why I had, which we'll get into later on because one of the questions relates to it. I ended up having to go privately for something. And you know what? When I had to go back and tell, like, I had to send paperwork into my GP, do you think they could be bothered? Pfft. We'll get onto that though, my lovelies, because one of you has asked it. But yeah, leukemia, I'm sure that's like blood cancer. And where you say like he shrunk and was thin and quiet, I think that does. I think it makes you like very pale and like almost like childlike, because it's your blood. I don't know if it's blood thinning or like almost blood poisoning in a way you would think. So that's where like you would shrink down. It is a horrible illness, and as I say, in this day and age, my lovelies, I completely agree that we should have the option to live a full life without this just poor disease that ravages people daily basis. I'm googling this now because I'm sure it is still the #1 killing disease in the world. Oh, so the 5 biggest killers in the UK. This is from 2021, so it could change. #1 is Alzheimer's and dementia. Oh, that makes me sad. #2 is cancer. #3 is heart disease. #4 is stroke. And #5 is liver cancer. Wow. So it's #2. It's #2. And you know what? With how everything was in the pandemic with that big C and all the rallying around for the vaccinations and everything like that, it's not even in the top 5. And that was made out, I know it had quite a high death rate in some areas of the world, and it was being compared to like, I think it was like the Spanish flu and the plague and everything like that. When you think the 2nd biggest killer, and it's still not been cured. It baffles me. It really does baffle me, my lovelies. We're going to get into conspiracies and theories after this. So we're taking a little bit of a different turn in this video, aren't we? One of you, my lovelies, emailed me. And like, because I like all my murder and gore, deny and crime. We know that. And they said you should like do your best crime stories and just sit down and chat with them. You know, like how Eleanor Neal and Bailey Siren, I still don't know how you say her name, where like one of them does like makeup as they talk and one just literally generally sits and talks about the crime thing. I was like, you know what, I'd love to do that. Just to sit down, because I have quite a dark being, don't I? I love anything like murder, crime, gore, everything like that. And I've actually got 2 books there of true crime case histories. Maybe, oh my god, I've just had a brainwave. How about, I'm going to have a look through those books, because they're what Dada got me for Christmas. I don't know how long the case studies are, because if they're only like 2 or 3 pages each, that's fine. Like, I can't be sitting there reading like a whole anthology of crime to you. But maybe I could like read a little true crime case histories. Who would want like a sit down with Shan crime edition? And you could send in like your best crime stories or stories that you think I should look over. Oh my god, that could be a new series for the new year. Let me know. Let me know, guys, if that's something what you would want to see. I'm pretty much got my content planned up this year, but that could be like a whole sit down with Shan crime Sundays. Yes, this coffee is really hyping me up, ain't it? But let me know if that's something that you'd want to see, and like what types of crimes or any infamous stories, or would you want me to research things? Yes, yes, yes. I am going to go get a glass of water because I feel like I need to calm down a bit. I'm going to probably change position, get a bit more comfy, and then we will come back because I've still got quite a lot in there. And then there is a big final question at the end, which was actually for me. So that's very nice. And you might learn a little bit of family history from us. Right. You might jiggle a bit because you're on the tripod on the bed. I haven't yet found something that I can balance you on the bed where you won't shake. The tassel is shaking. I don't think the camera's shaking. If it does, I do apologise. All right, my lovelies. So, I've had another couple in here. Another one of my lovelies. Oh, it's very hard as my sister-in-law had stage 4 breast cancer, but she got through it. Amen. Hallelujah. She has checkups. Oh, Fast and Furious going on out there. She has checkups, but she is well and healthy. I had scares as well, and it's not a nice thought. See, this is the thing, like, I am forever, you're probably going to think it's really weird, but I am forever checking my boobs. Every single time I have a bath, which is on a daily basis, I am there, and I still don't think I know how to do it properly. I try and go by a little booklet that I got from Lounge Underwear. When Lounge do their Copper Fill month, which I think is November, and I got a pink thong for me and Mama G, and they gave you a booklet of how to check your breasts. And as far as I know, it's like you lift your breast, and then like you put 2 fingers underneath and you feel around for lumps and like on the top and all that. And I know when I started the gym, probably not the first few weeks, but when I started to do the classes and weights and everything, one morning I woke up, I'd been to class, come back, had my bath, and I felt like a lump like on the top. And I was a bit like, oh, like freaked. So I called Mum in and I was like, can you feel this? And she checked around and she was like, it feels right. She said it feels like muscle. So best believe I went on good old Google. It didn't scare me this time. I typed in where it was, the location, like lumps in boobs after training, etc. And it turned out it's just like a muscle growth. Because it wasn't actually on the boob. It was more like, you know, in between your shoulder and armpit, like there, but it was from where I was moving my arm, it felt like it was on my boob. So that was all good, touch wood. But yeah, I am forever feeling my boobs. If you see me out and about and say, I don't know, I'm waiting in a queue, for example, it will not be unlike me to like stand there and be like, and I will just casually, I don't even know I'm doing it sometimes. It's so like subconsciously, and I do get a few weird looks. Like when I realise I'm doing it, I'm like, oh, all poop. But you need to copper feel. You need to like make sure you know what your body's doing, because I think where we can't do anything to ourselves, like we can't see if anything's wrong down there below, we can have the power to feel if anything's going wrong in the old girls. So yeah, I am forever touching myself on my boobs. Probably sounds very wrong, and if you've skipped the video and you've come 10 seconds forward to this part and you've just caught me saying touching myself, you're probably going to be thinking, what on earth are you talking about? But yeah, as they say, copper feel. Lounge Underwear, I think they have a page on their website where they have like the copper feel and how to check for your breasts, or if not, just go on Google and be like, how to check for breast lumps. As I say, I think they advise it more when you're in the bath, because you're kind of like, I don't know, I'm sure they say like after a bath or shower, and they show you like to lift your arm and do certain ways, and if you do it like certain ways it don't get the proper feeling. So go and have a look. Actually, I'll link Lounge down below and like the breast checking website and everything like that, and I'll try and leave any links down below for like any cancer websites, because I think there needs to be a lot more help and advice out there, to be honest, my lovelies. Oh, I don't like, because these get sad. One of my lovelies says, sadly, my wonderful husband battled cancer 3 times, but he lost his fight 10 years ago. I'm so sorry to hear that. What a fighter for fighting it for 3 times. I think it is miraculous when people get told that. And I think a lot of people, if they get told they have cancer, they automatically think it's a death sentence. Sometimes it is, unfortunately, but when you have people that are defiant and they beat it and their bodies come through, hallelujah, you go you are a fighter. And then when you hear that it comes back, you just think, why? Like, why? You've done all of that, you've fought it, you've been the better person, and it's wanting to come back. And your poor husband's had it 3 times. I am so, so sorry for that. He was well and truly a fighter and a trooper, my lovely, and everyone should be so blooming proud of him, because I don't know if I was ever told that, if I could fight it once, let alone 3 times. It is very much mind over matter, and I think sometimes, like, I would get so angry. If that was myself, I'd be so angry at my body to think, I've done it now once, twice, 3 times, go. Just like, what else could you possibly do? Like, what else is there left for you to take from me? That really saddens me. And she's a lovely lady as well. Sorry, my lovey. My inbox is always open for you. You know that, don't you? Right. I'm going to save that one till last because that's about me. Ah, talking about conspiracies and theories. So one of my lovelies, he says, one theory or conspiracy theory is that there is a cure for cancer, but the pharmaceutical companies make more money from treating the illness than curing it. Greed over life will win every time in the corrupt world we live in. And you know what? I've heard this so many times. I have heard that there has been a cure for cancer, I think for about a decade. But they don't want to release it. That one, that the pharmaceutical companies make more money out of it, I can totally believe that. The theory that I heard was that they're not releasing it because where cancer is still one of the biggest killers, it's helping keep the population. Which, how can you allow an illness that you can treat decide who lives and who doesn't? Like, these people cannot be playing God with people's life. Like, pharmaceutical companies, I don't know much about them, but whenever I read stuff about them, to be honest, it's never normally positive. It is normally, as he says, about greed and the whole thing with the vaccinations. Certain pharmaceutical companies were doing certain things, but then some was saying that there was clauses that if there was any backlash or side effects, they weren't held accountable. These people have to be held accountable. If there is, and you know what baffles me, the amount of money and donations for cancer, whether that be to cancer research or like when they do Stand Up to Cancer, the millions and millions of pounds of money that is raised every year. You've shaken a bit there, I do apologise. And they're telling us that there's still not a cure. However, I think it might have been a couple of months ago, I read something. Is there a tablet or a drug of some kind that they believe can cure it? They've said that they done it on some people who had cancer and it's come back and cured it. I'm sure I read something about that on Daily Mail. But if I did, you would think if they found the breakthrough for cancer, that would be on the front of every paper for months and months. Hallelujah, the cure is here. We have found the cure. I think that must have been a couple of months ago I read it. And then I've not heard anything since. I tell you what I have seen apparently they found a cure for. A hangover. There's apparently a hangover pill. So people are making hangover pills, but nothing for cancer. Sometimes this world just baffles me, you know, my lovelies. But yeah, I do. It is true. Greed and money will outweigh anything in this world. And that is what I think is very, very wrong. Not just with the UK, with the world. As they say, what's the saying? Mum says money speaks all languages. You could be in a country, you could be on Mars. You might want something, they ain't going to understand you. You put some money in front of their face, they understand you. It shouldn't be like that. Money should not be the root of what people can and can't achieve or do. Because you know what? Probably another conspiracy theory here. We could have a whole episode on conspiracy theories. I believe there is a cure. And I believe that it is only for the mega, mega rich who are allowed that cure. The ones that have got the money to pay for that cure. And that just disgusts me. Because it wouldn't shock me in this world. It would not shock me in this world that that actually exists. Little conspiracy rant over, as I say. Crime and conspiracies, my God. I could have a channel just on that. Imagine that, daily uploads with Shan where we just talk about crimes and conspiracies. Oh, I'd love my life. And then another one. Can you tell us about any cancer in your family? What was Nana G's type of cancer? How are your conspiracy theories with cancer, etc., etc. So, we're going to round it out on me for a change. I love it. I don't normally get asked many questions from me. When I saw that, I was like, I need to include that. So, I've just kind of given you my conspiracy theories regarding the cures for cancer. I personally do feel there is one out there, and I feel it is targeted to the elite of the world, let's just say. The people who have the money to have it. And unfortunately for all the normal people, because it is a killer to even out the population. Let's just say we've all got to like it and lump it, as they say. I'll talk about my experience first of all. So in our family, several members have had skin cancer, and we have a lot of moles in the family. Mum, Nan and her sister, they all had a little like birthmark, what they thought was a birthmark. It wasn't. It actually turned out to be a mole. My Nan kept hers, my aunt had hers removed because she's vain, and Mum has still got hers. It's not a brown mole, it's a very raised light pinkish mole. If Mum ever has her hair up, I'll try and get her to point it out to you one time. And we have moles generally all over our body. I had a lump under my left, yes, I'm doing my left and right, under my left bum. You know where you have your bum and then you have your bum, well, I do it because I've got a big bum. I get a crease between my bum and then my leg. In that little crease, probably about, God, it was when I went Cuba, 3-4 years ago, I started to notice I was getting a little lump. Didn't think nothing of it. About a year went past and it started to go darker. So I was like, just keep an eye on it. It seemed to like get bigger and smaller, bigger and smaller. COVID, it weren't too bad, but during COVID I noticed I had a few more moles appearing and some of my moles were changing. I've got a mole just on the side by my belly button, which was flat. And then over the course of about 6 months, it raised. It's going to sound really weird, but it was like pulley. You know, like saggy. It was like a saggy mole. Like I can pull this mole and twist it and it's like saggy, which ain't great. And I think it was last September, last October, I'd come in, I'd noticed that the mole on my belly had got wider and it wasn't as like pulley. It started to get a bit firmer. And when I looked at the lump on my leg, it had actually gone really dark brown. So I called my GP, bearing in mind on my GP file it has regarding Nana G and my granddad's skin cancer, and that like we need to be monitored or kept an eye on. And they was like, yeah, we've got nothing. Monitor it for 2 weeks. So I did. I took pictures every day. I called them then the following week and was like, look, it keeps going dark and light, and the raisedness keeps changing. And when I feel it, even now, it just feels like sometimes like a hard, you know, like if someone was to get a scalpel and like just carve it out, like there's something in the middle of it. They didn't want to know. They said monitor it for another week. So I monitored it for another week, and within that week it grew. Like it grew quite large. It started off probably the size of half my little fingernail, and then it went to about, I'd say, 3/4 of my fingernail. I'm just feeling it because I can feel it on my leg, and it's still quite round and raised now, to be honest. So I took it and it started to go really dark. So Mum called and was like, look, it's not going away. It's on the file to have her moles checked. Can we come in? The woman in my GP was like, nope, you'll have to call 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, which I think is a standard thing with most GPs. So Mum said, well, if I call tomorrow morning, can you guarantee that she'll be able to pop in and see someone? And the woman said, no. So obviously I start work at 8. I can't be here and be at work if I don't know that I'm going to have that appointment. And the woman's her response to Mum was, well, if it's that important, she'll just have to take the day off work and hope. Are you going to pay my wages, darling? This is what I mean. Like my GP surgery, I ain't got any time for him. So Mum said, so you're not going to look at it. Her file says there is skin cancer in the family on both sides of the family, like Nana G from Mum and Granddad from Dada. You're not going to see her. Well, I'm not saying that, but well, you are kind of in a way. So Mum said, don't worry, she'll deal with it privately. So she called me back and said, they've not got anything. So I said, right. It had started, normally healthcare stuff doesn't really bother me, but this had started to niggle at me. So I went online to an online GP and I said to them the symptoms, and they said, can you show me, send over the photos from the past 2 weeks and that. I sent everything over and they said, right, for peace of mind, can you please go and see a dermatologist and they will look through. They said it could be a couple of things. They couldn't say whether it was definitely a cancerous mole or something else. They said it could be a variety of things, but if you have a local dermatologist to yourself, can you please go and have a look? So I said, right. So I said to Mum, call them back. I said, and just say, look, I've spoke to an online GP now. They have said that I need to see a dermatologist like ASAP. Whether there's any availability in like our walk-in centres has a little dermatology clinic. No. So Mum called me back. She said, no. So I'll tell you what, I'll just do a thing. About 10 minutes after, someone else called Mum from the surgery, because Mum deals with my surgery. I don't deal with my surgery point blank. I haven't got time for them. I'm just like, no. So if anything needs to go on, Mum deals with it for me. They called her back. All of a sudden, they wanted to know my name, my date of birth, all of this jazz. And Mum said, I'm not giving it to you. And they was all like, why? Why? And Mum said, no, she's going privately. Like, you'll hear from her after the private thing. So I think this was on like a Wednesday or a Thursday. So I went online. I found a local dermatologist clinic, which was literally 20 minutes from me. I called them up. I explained it. They said, not a problem. Send over the photos. I was booked in for Saturday that morning. So within like 2 or 3 days. Told what to expect, because it was still like kind of COVID-y times. Had to wear your mask and all of, like, do your testing before to show you was negative to enter the surgery. And that was all booked good to go. I went to the surgery on the Saturday morning. Saw a lovely little lady. She was Brazilian, and we were just talking about food. We were talking about, like, because I said how we do like Brazilian buffets here where they go around with the meat on the stick, and she was like, oh, it's like a typical Sunday in a Brazilian house. I'm like, oh my god, I need to go to like a Brazilian house on a Sunday. Just keep feeding me the meat. Probably not now I'm on my health kick. I'd probably like have a food overload. But I said to her what it was. She said, I've looked over the photos and I think I know what it is, but can I just check it thing? So I laid on the table, and obviously because it's like under my bum / in the fat crease before it goes to my thigh, it was a bit like awkward. So I laid down and showed her. She was amazing. She had all of the rulers out, the sizing, she done the checking, she took countless photos, she measured how high up it was raised, the centre, everything like that. Whilst I was there as well, she said, have you got any other moles? So I showed her the one on my belly. I've got a couple on my back and a few others scattered on my body. She took photos of all of them. The one on my belly, she said, that's nothing to worry about because it was like stringy and pulley. She checked over, she went like, she had this microscope that goes thingy. She said there's no pigments in it. There's no like odd spots that you need to look out for on moles. It just looks like it's a very weird mole, she said, but it's nothing like, there was no redness or darkness around it. It was just like, it's kind of like, just like, it's pulley. But if I'm shaving my belly and I catch that, ooh, that hurts, okay? And I have to be careful when I'm shaving my legs as well with the thing, because if I nick this behind my leg, bleeds, not a good sight. So she took all photos of everything. She had like, you know when they have the outline of a body, like when you're in biology, she'd noted every single part of my mole. And I think there was about 6 or 7 across my body. She'd done it from like, not severe, but like the most to look out for. So like my belly, I've just got to keep an eye if it hardens anymore. Obviously my leg was on there, and then the few others scattered on my body. So she did tell me the name of it. I can't remember. I am going to be a beep for this because I really hate it when people can't remember the terms. But she did tell me the term for the thing on my leg, and she said, like, when did you get it? I said, I noticed it was raised when I went to Cuba. I said, but then it fluctuates in like colour and size and everything like that. And she said it was basically, in simplest terms, like a gnat bite, which you're probably thinking is so dramatic. But the reason for the raisedness and the hardness in the middle, she said, whatever has bitten you, your body has created like a barrier, almost like an umbrella, she said. And that's why in the middle, that is probably filled with whatever the venom was or whatever. Because it does feel, if I squeeze it, that like you could literally scalpel that and pull that out and I'd have a hole in my leg. She said you could have it removed if you really want to. She said, but personally, she said it's not like it's on my face or something. If it doesn't bother you that much, it's only like if I was in a bikini or something, just to leave it. She said, and your body has created that umbrella because it may have been a mosquito that I had never been bit before, so your body didn't quite know how to react. She said, so it's almost sealed it and that won't ever leak in your body. Which I thought, how amazing are our bodies? How amazing are our bodies? And also the reason why the colouring changes, I noticed it more after like I've been walking or anything like that. She said because the blood can still get to it, so when it starts getting red and it looks inflamed and it goes like a bright colour, that's just the blood pumping to it, so it's nothing to be alarmed about. So you know what, that was a weight off my shoulder. I was in and out in about 20-25 minutes, but honestly, she said, I'll give you a copy of what we spoke about today. She said, I'll send you a proper copy in the post of everything once you've written it up, and I'll send a bit to your GP surgery. So I come out, paid the bill. I think it was about £200, which for like 20-25 minutes work, I'd love to earn that type of money, but I had the peace of mind from it. They sent it to my GP, and then Mum got a call again and was like, oh, we've had a letter through from da-da-da dermatologist clinic. Why did she go there? And Mum was just kind of like, are you actually for real? And the woman said, well, it's not like we wasn't going to see her. She would have just had to wait. And Mum said, but I wasn't in the position to wait. Like, it had been changing for weeks on end. And as I say, when you see something and it's your skin colour, and then you wake up and it's like slightly darker, and then you go for a walk and come back and it's bright red, you're going to think like, what on earth is that on my leg? Especially when there's like, how do you say it? Like, past generations have had skin cancer and stuff like that. So they got really shirty, and now I don't deal with my GP clinic. I don't even deal with them for my contraceptive pill, because last time I needed my pill, it took them 10 days just to send a prescription, and when they did, they sent it for the wrong pill. They wouldn't give me an appointment to see the nurse within time. I was literally about 4 days from running out my pill. They said, not a problem, nothing we can do, you'll just have to wait. So I ended up going privately for that now. I go to Superdrug online, fill in the form, I put in what my pill is, everything like that. I get it delivered to my door within 2 working days. So I actually do not use the NHS for anything. When I had all of the problems with my feet and my toes, I went to a chiropodist for that. I think the only time I've used the NHS was when I was in the kitchen and I passed out in the kitchen and I had to go on a nebulizer for a night. That's the only time. And that's what aggravates me, because I think I am not a type of person to be at the doctor's 24/7. Like, oh, I've got a cold, I've got this, I've got that. So when I do call up, you know something's wrong. And that's what my old GP, if I called up, he would be like, get her in, because he'd know something was wrong. But he passed away, bless him. So yeah, so that was my experience. I'm going to have a bit more of my coffee, and then we can get into like the family side of cancer, because we've had quite a bit in our family. So, Right, so a lot of questions was about Nana G, especially from her birthday vlog when we were talking about our memories and that, and Mum said obviously she didn't have her nose. So my Nana G, aka the original Mama G, oh, something just flashed. She had skin cancer. She was in hospital and she started to get, it was like a little spot on the end of her nose. It started, oh, what is, I do apologise, my phone is flashing away here. What's it? Oh, photos. Look at your memories. Oh, I don't want to look at those memories. I don't like this memories and time hop stuff. Go away. Right. So she started off as a little scabby spot at the end of her nose. And it would grow for a couple of weeks and then it would fall off. And then it would grow again and it would fall off. And we questioned it with the hospital staff, because she was in hospital because she'd broke her knee. And she was in hospital for about 6 to 8 months, I'm going to say. She had to have like a whole iron knee put in. The leg comparison difference, bless her, like her, I think it was her right leg, it was double the size of her left. She'd been in bed for about 6 months and then she had to start physio. She had no strength. Like, you're talking, she was like 78, 79 at this point. And that was hard. She didn't want to be in hospital. She wanted to be home. We got her home in the end. She come and live with me and Mama G. Through those 6 to 8 months when she was in hospital, this thing kept growing off. And I questioned it. And again, the staff in her hospital was not the greatest, to be honest. They said to us it was a reaction to medication because they'd put her on loads of new tablets because obviously she had this thing. She was in so much pain. They said, right, it's a reaction to that. You think they are the professionals? It went, I think, about maybe 4 or 5 months, and I said to Mum, this ain't right. Like, something is wrong with this. So I started taking photos. I've been taking photos previously, but like really taking photos and videos and that. And when they noticed I'd started to, like, every time I was there, I was taking pictures. They was like, what are you taking pictures for? I'm like, there is something not right here with her nose. And they would get so shirty with me. We're the professionals, darling. That's what one of them used to say to me. My God, if I ever saw her again. We're the professionals, darling. Leave it to us. Well, we left it to you, and look what happened to me, Nan. So Nan come out of hospital and she come and live with me and Mum for about 6 to 8 months. And it kept getting bigger. At one point, it grew so big, it looked like a boil. So Dada is quite known with, like, his body with boils and that because he works as a lab tech. So he's exposed to chemicals and that a lot. I do apologise if you're shaking. I'm going to try and balance you with my feet. Sorry there. So his skin is exposed to chemicals all the time. So he has been known to have, like, boils and everything. He's had to have boils lanced off of his neck and everything like that back in the heyday. We tried compressing it. We tried everything that, like, Dada would do for a boil. It just would not shift. We ended up very struggling getting her in the car and taking her to a local medical centre. We couldn't get her out of the car because her leg, it was painful enough to get her in, bless her. So we went into the medical centre and we said, look, whenever the next slot, could someone just come out to the car, please? We explained the situation. That was absolutely fine. And the medical man, I think it was a man, yeah, he come out, he saw Nan, and then he simply just walked away. Mum went over with him and then Mum started crying. And I was like... And Nan turned point blank round and she was like, I've got cancer, ain't I? And I was like, oh, I don't know, like, I weren't having the conversation. Mum got in the car and Nan just said, oh, have I got it? And Mum was like, what do you mean, Mother? She said, have I got cancer? And Mum was just like, woo. And Nan was just like, oh, okay. And my Nan never really cried. That was one thing. I never ever saw her... I'm not going to start crying. You need to have your coffee, girl. Throughout it all, I never saw her cry once. Like, she was never upset. She was always positive and kind of like, it is what it is. Life is what it's like. And from there, they got the ball rolling. I think it took about 2 or 3 weeks. We had her in our hospital. And because we lived like deep in Essex and she was deep in Kent, we had to like get everything transferred over, like all of her medical records and her medicines and everything like that. And the first thing they done was they took part of it off for a biopsy. And then a couple of weeks went past and they said they hadn't got enough of it off. So then they had to take more off. So she had like big bandages on her face the whole time, bless her. And then it come back, yep, cancerous. So they said, we need to remove it, but she will lose part of her nose. And me and Mum was just kind of like, right. And Nan was just like, okay, whatever. So she had her surgery and she had like a big wadding on her nose for about a week before she had to go back to have it removed. And I remember me and Mum went back with her when she first had it removed. Ooh. Like, I'm all here for the gore and that, but seeing it on your Nan was a bit, oh. So they pulled it off. And you know, like where we have our bridge here, so from here, all around her nostrils and that, there was a hole. I would insert pictures, but I don't know if I would be, number one, comfortable doing that, because that's my Nan, and if anyone said anything, my lord, I would find you. I'd turn into Liam Neeson. And it could be quite squeamish for some people. So I don't think I will insert photos. I might, if there's anything you want to know a bit more about Nan or anything, just leave me a message or Instagram, send me a DM and I'll speak a little bit more about it. But she'd lost, pardon me, all the coffee's making me burp now. She'd lost all of her nose, bless her. And then I think they patched it up again for like another 2 to 3 weeks, and they said every other day, take it off, clean it, rebandage it. We went back and they said it's still not gone. It was the smell, I think. As soon as you took the wadding off, you knew something was bad. So she had to then, bless her, she had a skin graft from her neck. So they took skin and she had these big long stitches across her neck, bless her. And they was trying to like skin graft the top bit of her nose where they had to take more up the bridge. They was trying to skin graft it more. And then several weeks went back to get that checked, and she'd started to have like a little lump appear just under the part of the nose where it would have been on her lip. So they cut that off, and she had stitches on her face there, bless her. And then we went through the whole procedure of she got a prosthetic nose. We went back and forth, and she said, I feel like I'm like a sculpture, because they take all like these measurements, and they done the first few and they was like miles too big and that, and then they done the last one. I think she had 2 and then it was the final one, so 3 prosthetics, and the last one was so good. Mum didn't really know how to do it, so I learned. I was like the prosthetic granddaughter. I learned you used to have to put this little bit of glue around the outside of it, and then so you know like our little bit here, because Nan didn't have this bit here, it was like flappy. That sounds so weird and people are probably thinking, what the hell? So when you would stick her prosthetic on, I would have to like lift that little bit up, and then so that like the prosthetic would hold it, so it would hold together. And when she had the prosthetic on, oh, you would not have been able to tell. But the only thing, she said that she found the prosthetic uncomfortable. I think because she'd got used to it being like almost so ventilated. By having it back on, she didn't like it. So I think she only wore the prosthetic a handful of times, if that. And half the time, if we took her out, she would just go out without her nose on. I didn't like... I can deal with people staring. I didn't like the comments, the sniggering, and just the downright rudeness. I cannot tell you a time that we went out with Nan when she didn't have her nose on and I didn't almost get in a fight with people like fisticuffs. I'm all here. It's not every day you see someone who doesn't have a nose. And Nan used to, she did make me laugh. If someone stared at her, if she went like breathed out, the little bit, it used to remind me of the dogs on Blade. It would just like spread open even more. So she had like a massive gaping hole and like the side bits. But if she like breathed out, like they would just sprout in people's faces, my God. And she'd be like, what you looking at? Like she wouldn't be afraid to say to people, what are you looking at? I've had cancer. And some people would be like, oh, sorry. I didn't like the comments and like the nudging. Oh, look at that. There's an occasion that always resonates with me. And if it wasn't for the fact that Nan was there, because if, say, we used to go out and we used to take turns, like, taking her around and that. If it wasn't for the fact that she was there, say it had been a thing of, like, someone had seen her and then, like, Mum took her off the thing and I heard it, I'm telling you now, that person would not be walking properly. Nan was there, I heard a comment, I turned around and saw sniggering, and I saw red. We had a very heated exchange in the middle of quite a posh shopping centre actually, and it was all, well, meh, not to that. You can imagine the expletives. Shaniqua was well and truly coming out, you know, at this point. And Nan said, it's all right, little un. I was like, no, it ain't all right. And the person kept going and going, and I'm telling you now, I'm not a violent person. They would not have kneecaps. If I'd have got my hands on them, they would not have had kneecaps. And Nan she just calmly grabbed my arm and said, come on, little un, let's go. And she physically, Mum pushed the wheelchair and Nan walked me away. Because if I'd have got my hands on that individual, if you want, I'm this person, right? If I saw something like that, I would go up and say, I don't mean to be intrusive. What happened? Like, I would be inquisitive. We would never, if people would say, what happened? And we'd tell them, and they'd like, oh, pardon me, I think it's always better to ask. Don't stand there and snigger at someone's illness or disease or something that you know absolutely nothing about and just be downright arrogant and rude. And then when you're pulled up by a family member, have the audacity to try Absolutely not. And bearing in mind, I was only about 17, 18 at this point. Still Shaniqua vibes. Like, she was still there, and Nan just laughed it off. She's like, they're ignorant. I'm like, yeah, but you ain't going to stand there and say comments like that about my Nan and then try and, like, get mouthy to me. Let me tell you that. So, yeah, she had the prosthetic and everything. And then just before I was due to go away to my uncle's wedding abroad, she started to get a bit ill again. Again, they took her in, they done biopsies, and they said, like, we think it's come back. Not skin, we think it might be internal. So they said to Nan, we can do scans and everything. And my Nan was just kind of like, no. She was just like, if I've got it, I've got it. And she didn't want to be pulled about anymore, I think. I think she kind of accepted it. Like, she was 79. She passed 6 days before her birthday. And yeah, she didn't want to be tested. I think she knew it had come back, but she'd like not given up. She never would have given up. But I think she was just tired. She'd been through a lot those last years. Like with the fall with her leg and everything, and I think she was just tired. She was never sad. And this is the thing, so if the hospital had done tests or checked on it at the beginning, we might have been able to catch it a bit earlier. So that's why I resonate with a lot of your things when you say you've had family members who've had it and it's not been caught in time. Because a simple little test, like, she was in hospital for 6 to 8 months. They could have easily just done a little biopsy when she was in the bed and found it, but they didn't want to. They couldn't be bothered. They didn't want to. And when she passed, they said that it was due to, no, what did they say? Hypothermia or something? And I was just like, no, it wasn't. She died of cancer. But they wouldn't put that on her death certificate. It was hypothermia, I think, that they put it down on, which baffles me. And because Mum wasn't happy, they said, well, we'll do a post-mortem then. And I think it was my aunt wanted the post-mortem and Mum said no, because we knew how much she didn't want to be pulled about anymore, and it was just kind of like, she's at peace now, like, just leave her be. We know what she passed of, regardless of what the death certificate says. We know that. And we just think, like, if they'd have just done something in there, they could have picked it up sooner. Like, I'm not saying she would have lived to 100, but she would have definitely got to her 80th, and maybe a couple of years after that. And that's why I think, like, God, Nan's been passed 2014. So what's that, 8 years ago? And I still can't talk about it without getting upset. So when you're saying they're like, it's the family's grief as well after, there's no time limit on grief. And I think, especially because I was close to Nan, it's always very raw for me. Like, my granddad, so Dada's dad, he also had skin cancer. He used to work abroad a lot. So that's the thing, like, Nan never went on sunbeds, anything like that. She must have just picked it up in the sun. It's not like she'd lay in it for hours or anything like that. Probably picked it up like walking out and about. Dada's dad had, pardon me, skin cancer. I think it was on his lip again, granddad. But he used to work abroad a lot. He worked like in South Africa and Saudi Arabia and that. So he was always in like sunny prone countries. And I think as well he had, my granddad I think got some form of cancer within the stomach or liver. Or was it bowel? Because Dada and his brothers get a letter, I think it's like every year or maybe every 2 years, to like go and have it checked. I have a feeling it could be stomach. I think it could be stomach, and they have to go and have like their bodies checked to make sure nothing's hereditary. But Dada don't go. He again is another thing, kind of like me. I always said if I had it I wouldn't want to know I have it, because then you just, I think you would live your life in fear perhaps. But he's never been for his brothers go for their checks, I think. I know one definitely does. Do the other two go? I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, he doesn't. He's just like, as Nan says, it is what it is. I really want that tattooed on me. It is what it is. But I keep reading that people who say that, they say are very dangerous. Because our mentality is just like, is what it is. Is what it is. And I just think that is life, unfortunately, sometimes. It is what it is. There is nothing you can do about it. But when you have the opportunities and when there are ways there that people can do something and they choose not to, that is what gripes me. And as I say, it's just a crap situation, innit? But yeah, so that's the story of my family. Dada's dad had skin and I'm sure it was stomach cancer. And then Nana G had skin cancer, but it progressed, I think, just within her body. I don't know the particular type that she had, but we feel it just came back and taken over her, for bless her. And then also, not forgetting my little Elvis, the cat. He had cancer. He had a brain tumour. I went away on holiday, come back. He'd been missing the whole time I was away for 2 weeks. He come back the day before I was due home. I come back, I looked at him and I was like, what is wrong with him? He was so thin, he wasn't eating. And yeah, he had a brain tumour, cancer. And honestly, oh, he started having seizures, and that was I think that is probably one of the worst nights of my entire life. I had to hold him like a baby in a blanket while we went to the vets, and he was having seizures in my arms, and I was just like, it was horrible. I'm not going to start crying again because I've had enough tears today and it's too hot to be crying. But yeah, so I would like to say F you, cancer. I hope that if there is a cure out there, it gets put out pronto to everyone, and it shouldn't be age or race or anything like. There shouldn't be no discrimination. If you have the need for it, you should be able to get it. End of. Regardless if it's going to make someone money, rich, poor, I don't care. It should be a thing that is accessible, like going to get a bag of sugar. If you are ill and you need that medicine or that tablet, whatever it is, you should be able to get it. Good, we've had a little bit of a rant, ain't we? So, my lovelies, that was another sit down with Shan, and it took a little bit of an emotional turn, didn't it? Didn't quite see that one coming, as I say, but it is true what they say. It's not just the person who has cancer that is affected. It is the family. It's everyone around you. You can't. I don't think that I've ever met someone and they haven't known or had it, or as I say, like been associated with someone who has had cancer. And it is horrible. It is riveting. It's the second biggest killer in the world. Like, there's got to be something done to find a cure for it. The amount of money that goes into it. How in this day and age of technology, when for the C vaccine, within a matter of months, they had like 2 or 3 different types of vaccinations, and you can't get one for the second biggest killer in the world. It don't sit right with me at all. But at least we've had a bit of a brainwave for next month, eh? So next month we're going to talk about contraception. So as I say, I will remind you nearer the time on my lifestyle Instagram and food Instagram. As I say, they're always down below. But if you want to send us a DM now or leave us any comments, let us know and I shall screenshot away and keep them for next month. But yes, if you did enjoy the video, guys, you know what to do. Hit that thumbs up and subscribe down below. And as I say, leave me a comment. Have you had the illness? Have you known someone who has had the illness? What is your thoughts and feelings on, is there a cure? Is it in development? Who knows? And yeah, apologies for becoming emotional. I thought I'd be able to get through the video without having a bit of a wobble, but yeah, bless her. Nana G, she's very, very special in my heart, always will be. So yes, take care, stay safe as always, and I shall see you, when shall I see you? Oh, I don't know. Whenever the next upload day, the usual day, alright? Bye guys.